Now, you could argue that it's taken women to drag the British royal family into the modern era, probably starting with Princess Diana, who was, I think, a modern woman and brought about a lot of change, despite the fact that she was married to Charles.
Yeah.
That would have held her back a bit, I think, in that era. And now we see Princess Kate yesterday as well. And both Kate and William, we're told, they're talking about changing the baby's nappy. He's done that. You saw them putting the child seat in the car. Diana drove home holding the baby, first baby in her arms. They were the days. But also appeared, obviously, very soon after the birth of the baby, about 24 hours before this huge media contingent. And she was wearing quite a modern dress, lovely sort of soft fabric, but quite obvious was what's called the postpartum bump, the mummy bump. Now, I think if you look at most media women,
yes.
High-profile, I suppose, celebrities who have babies, they make sure they're not seen in public until the bump's gone, their body's back in incredible shape. And a lot of people say, well, that puts a huge amount of pressure on normal women, people who don't have maybe access to the money and the carers to look after the baby while you work out at the gym or whatever to lose that bump. Well, not so for Princess Kate. And yet a woman, blogged that she had a corgi. What's going on with her tummy? Has she really had the baby, or she got a corgi stuck up her dress? And that caused a little bit of controversy. Bianca Wordley is an Adelaide journalist. She writes and is a blogger. She's mum of 3 and blogs at bigwords.com. And herself, actually, I think, Bianca, you put a photo of yourself up saying, well, this is what a woman's body looks like when you've had 3 babies. Bianca Wordley, good morning to you.
Good morning. I'd like to point out, if anyone sees me in the street, that I still look like I've got a post-baby bump, and that's 3 years since the birth of my last child.
Yeah, Bianca, how do you feel, particularly when I suppose other women are critical or make fun of Princess Kate for coming out and quite, not trying to hide what's called the baby bump, the mummy bump, I suppose, because the baby's out.
Oh, look, I actually think she looked divine. She looked beautiful. She looked the most beautiful I've ever seen her, I think. I don't think anyone should take any comment or look at her body and make any comment at all about another person's body at all, whether they've had a baby or not. It's just the pressure on women, particularly your first child, and particularly your first child when you're standing in front of all that media and you've got the whole world looking at you. I couldn't even imagine what's going through their brains. I mean, they probably don't even know how to change a nappy, let alone having to deal with the scrutiny of the media. However, Kate has been at the scrutiny of the media for, ever since she ever met Prince William, so she's probably had some really good media training, as opposed to a woman on the street who, when they have their baby and then they spend the first few months. I used to carry my babies in front of my belly because I would feel embarrassed that someone would ask me if I was still pregnant. And I know a lot of women like that. I mean, isn't that ridiculous?
Well, Bianca, I think it is, but it also probably shows our removal from the real world in a way, or our attempt to not wanting to look at the reality of childbirth and the impact it has on a woman's body.
Completely. I remember Jamie Oliver's wife, she came out after the birth of, I think it was maybe their 3rd child, and she didn't try to hide up her belly either. And she was equally applauded by women out there and then equally torn apart. But, the fact that I can only remember one woman, that has come out and done that just is really quite distressing. I would love to see more come out and say, you know what, this is what it actually looks like. So particularly young women out there who are having their child for the first time, realise the reality of what happens when the baby goes. I think some people think once the baby's taken out that belly actually goes flat again, and it doesn't, particularly for, at least for the first, couple of months. It's still stretched out in that shape.
Well, yeah. So full marks to her. It takes a woman in an extraordinary position, such as the Duchess, to help the rest of you out.
Oh, the rest of us out.
Yeah.
You know what, I'd like to say at this point that I think the majority of women out there do not tear other women down. And I think the majority of women out there are incredibly supportive and incredibly understanding. And what happens is it takes for, one magazine article, like the UK one that came out yesterday talking about her weight loss regime, which was then shared and shared and shared by thousands of people. And, in this instant world of outrage that we have, basically most of it was people slamming that magazine, which has since come out and apologised. I think what's going on is people are so quick to jump on these things and spread them around. But by doing that, they're also reinforcing the message which is on the front cover of that magazine.
But Bianca, isn't it the women's magazines that say such and such an actress looks fabulous? Her body looks fabulous after she's had the baby? You wouldn't know she'd had the baby.
No. I think that's why they're proving time and time again that they're irrelevant. I mean, the reality is those pictures came out from Kate within seconds of her walking out the front door. That magazine went to press and went before she'd even had the baby. So they were already clutching at straws. They had 2 weeks of her being due, thinking, well, we've got to go to press tomorrow. What are we going to put on the front cover? So, of course, they're going to pull all those oldies out, aren't they? Weight loss regime, what's she going to wear? When's she going to get into that bikini? I mean, I'm already waiting. There'll be that shot of her on a, whole beach in Hawaii or something, with her belly back in shape, and make that be an amazing day for the whole of the world, So it's just time that I think everyone just stops talking about it and just says, you know what, that magazine, we're not even going to share it on Facebook and Twitter. We're not going to give it the time. It doesn't deserve that time.
Now, you say stop talking about that, but you're glad that people are able to talk about what she did in the last 24 hours, because you're saying this is actually a serious issue for the pressure that's placed on women, particularly young women and their first babies, that they really do feel it.
Oh, completely. I mean, you look at... I wrote a blog a year or so ago, and I showed pictures of my belly to try and say, this is what someone's belly may look like. It may have stretch marks all over it. It may be floppy. It may never go back into shape. And you might be able to do all those exercises and eat all the right things and drink as many cream smoothies as you want, and it's never actually going to go back the same as it was before. However, remember that what came out of you was this middle person, and that you've grown these people that are going to go out into the world, and that they, you need to mould them in a way that they feel confident and comfortable about their own body, so that this obsession with weight can be pushed onto the wayside, and more of an obsession on whether you're smart and kind and, do right things by people.
We've got a couple of men sending texts who are uncomfortable by the sounds of it with us even discussing this. Is this important breakfast radio? Let's get on with something interesting, says Tom. Fitzy says, you're putting pressure on by bothering to repeat this crap. Am I listening to Brain Dead FM? But I'm assuming this is a woman saying, we called it a jelly belly. Mine made me seasick when I walked.
But I mean, isn't that right though? I mean, we're having babies and we're talking about how the pressure on women and how that can actually turn into quite serious postpartum depression, and a whole range of things can come out of what they're feeling like about themselves. And there's a group of people out there that are calling this crap radio, and it shouldn't even be talked about.
That's okay, and we're glad we talked to you about it, Bianca.
Thanks so much.
Bianca Wordley, Adelaide journalist, formerly with the Times and the ABC, and she's a blogger, and blogs at bigwords.com.